Welcome to our series on the Cherokee Trail in Kansas. I'm Brian Stuckey, president of Friends of the Cherokee Trail in Kansas. The Cherokee Trail is an 1849 gold rush trail going from Arkansas and Oklahoma up through Kansas, meeting the Santa Fe Trail and out to California. Its first journey had white explorers from Arkansas and the Cherokees from Tahlequah area who joined together. We're following the path of this trail through Kansas. Our next location is surprising for those of us who grew up in central Kansas. We're here just south of El Dorado, Kansas, to tell us about a stone house that was a wayside station near the trail, built a long time ago, and its current owner and caretaker, Kyle Good. Kyle, tell us about this house and how you came to own it and how old it is.
Thank you, Brian. This house was built in 1850 as the way station for the Cherokee Trail. And we were able to get it in 2015. The one interesting thing is it was owned by the same family for 110 years. Granville P. and Carrie Aikman, which the hill over here is Aikman Hill,
Yes.
they bought it. Granville Aikman was a lawyer and a judge. He was a judge in Butler and Greenwood counties, and he bought the farm, this farm and the farm across the road in 1905. He had it, and one interesting thing, it is passed down through the female side for 4 generations.
Well, the main path of the Cherokee Trail really passes through your pasture south of here. What can you tell us about what you know about that?
It comes in the southeast corner of our pasture. There are 10 sets of ruts there, and then goes below the hill where our Cherokee Trail sign is, goes over and crosses at the Walnut Crossing.
Well, let's talk about the house itself. Stone walls. How thick are those stone walls?
The stone walls are about 2 foot thick. The inside walls are stacked stone. And what they did was they stacked them up. They drove a peg in to tell the plasters how deep to plaster. So now we've converted it to stacked stone inside walls. It's really nice.
Yep. Now, I've heard that this was built around 1850 or so. Finally, what does it mean to you to live in a historic house like this?
Oh, it's amazing. It's nice to be able to preserve the history of it. There's so much history on this place. The rock barns were built by the German POWs.
Yeah, World War II, is it?
World War II.
Yeah.
There was a prisoner of war camp northeast of town here, and the farmers could use those prisoners,
For labor.
Thank you, Brian.
You bet. Today we're taking a look at the Cherokee Trail in Potwin, Kansas. Once known as an oil production center, local residents never knew that the Cherokee Trail passed right through the town. Well, the day I was researching the Cherokee Trail, the surveyor information said the Cherokee Trail crossed this road, measuring from the corner west of here, a 1/4 mile to the east. But the pattern was wrong. It was really an Indian trail the surveyors must have seen. And I looked at the pasture to the north and I wondered, why is that big ditch there? And then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. That's not a ditch. That's a trail swale, a huge one, a class 1 trail swale, or as some people say, a rut. About the time I was scratching my head trying to comprehend this discovery of the swale that matched my dowsing of trail tracks, a neighbor pops out of the house across the street. "What are you looking for?" he said. And I told him about the Cherokee Trail, and I think I found it with this trail swale. "Oh," he said, "well, maybe that's why my neighbor found a rusty pistol in his yard." Yep, that would answer that. So to tell us more about this swale and its preservation, let's hear from Joyce Arts, our member, who owns the land with this swale. Joyce, when did you become aware that you had a historic trail swale on your land?
I became aware when I was attending a presentation you were giving at the Harvey County Historical Society. This was about 5 years ago. A friend had invited me to your presentation. I listened to it you were putting slides up on the screen of various places around Butler County and Kansas of interesting locations, and the slide of our rut or swell popped up, and I thought, that looks familiar. And you mentioned it was the Potwin swell, and so after the presentation I came up to you and told you that I think that's our land, and he said, oh, you're the landowner. I said, yes, my husband's family has owned this land for over 100 years, and that is our land north of Potwin.
Well, after you became aware of this swale, what did you do? Did you do anything to preserve it?
No, there's really nothing you can do to preserve the swale. It's always been pasture land as long as we've had this, and as long as we've known. And I know I would occasionally ride with my husband on his ATV to go out and check cattle. And going out into the pasture, my husband would always say, hold on to your hat, there's a big rut here. And it ended up being a Class 1 rut.
You were given a national award in 2019 by the Oregon-California Trails Association for preservation of this swale. Tell us how you feel about that.
Oh, we were just thrilled to death. We thought that was wonderful, especially since we really didn't do much to preserve it except let nature keep it.
Thank you, Joyce, for your preservation of this trail and your answering of some thoughts here. Now let's go on to move up the trail to a monument that people whiz by, hundreds of people whiz by every day and never think about, but it holds the stories of multiple trails. Let's travel to nearby Goessel. Our next stop is something, well, monumental, really. It is a trail monument located on Kansas State Highway 15, 5.5 miles south of Goessel, or 6.5 miles north of North Newton. It's just a half mile south of the Marion-Harvey County line in a roadside turnout park. This was erected in 1967 by the Harvey County Historical Society. Locals drive by it 1,000 times, and when they finally do stop, they're amazed at the information on this marker. There are an amazingly large number of trails, about 15 or so, within an 8-mile radius of Goessel. Maybe more than any such area in the Midwest. And look at the amazing swirling stone masonry in the base. This marker and its twin at 4th and Plum in Newton were rescued from the old Harvey County Courthouse when it was demolished in 1966. This is the only monument in Kansas that mentions the branches of the Cherokee Trail, which pass 2 and 6 miles to the east of here. But the Chisholm, or Abilene Trail as it should be known, is just 200 yards to the east. And the reason why this marker is on this spot is that this is where an obscure trail crosses the Valley of the Cottonwood to Pikes Peak Trail, an 1858 Gold Rush Trail. And it parallels an earlier Kaw Indian Trail coming south out of Council Grove to here, then northwest to the Santa Fe Trail, southeast of McPherson. We're here a half mile south of Goessel at Wolf Camp on the banks of the Middle Emma Creek. It just so happens that this creek is fed by an underground spring, so there's always water here. And that's also what the Lewis Evans wagon train found. And on a later journey in 1850, an entry in the Cherokee Trail Diaries reads, May 16th, 15 miles, traveled all day, no timber in sight, camped on a sluggish stream of very cold water, the same place that Evans camped. That description matches this creek exactly. I just try to imagine thousands of wagons passing this spot, which is today a nice farmyard. But wait, there's more to the story of this place. Where did the name Emma come from? The earliest history of Harvey County was written by Judge R.W.P. Muse. It reads, quote, Emma Township was named after the 3 creeks of the same name, which were so called because a beautiful young lady of that name, who accompanied a party of immigrants, died and was buried on the banks of one of these streams. Charles Schaefer and Dr. T.S. Floyd, two of the very earliest settlers of Harvey County, were quoted in a news story that the family of immigrants was going to California in 1849, and she died and was buried near the headwaters of the streams. So the only location that matches that description is this area. And yes, I was able to locate the grave of Emma by dowsing. Join us next time as we discover a beautiful and fascinating river crossing that is so important it's on the National Register of Historic Places. We'll meet Mike Thompson and Pat Fletcher, and they will tell of the historic crossing. Can't wait? Me too. See you next time.